Okay, let's get right into this shit. Okay. Was just watching Lawrence Antons' latest live stream, just got done like a minute ago, basically. Unfortunately, he said something in there that I'm gonna say fortunately, he said something in there that I disagree with, slash I don't really disagree with, I should say. I should say more like thought was problematic given his positions that he's stated in the past. So we're gonna cover it, I guess, you know? Yeah. But yeah, I guess we'll hop into howdy antinatalism. We're just gonna hop right into this right here. It's gonna be a short video. It's not too much that I have to say. Basically the context of this is Lawrence is a subjectivist. He doesn't believe in objective morality, so he basically just thinks that we're essentially as subjects, we have like opinions and we're trying to basically get others to agree with our opinions. So I have issues with that, obviously. I think ethics is objective, so I think that inherently my mic just turned off. My bad. 1 second. Testing 1 2. My mic. Okay, cool. It's working still. Yeah, but basically, I think ethics is objective. Some things are objective. Yeah. Like when it comes down to it, pain, pleasure, those two experiences, empirical experiences, in my opinion, cannot be denied. By definition, they just are a negative if it's pain, or a positive, or if it's a true positive, it's pleasure. Carnivore, veganism, I don't know what that brother said, but fair enough. Uh, I all I'm gonna say to your response or your carnivore over veganism is I fish, but I recommend people buy products only that are vegan because I don't want to have things brought into existence because that's not cool. That's not cash money. That's net harm production most likely. So, moral of the story is on this channel we are against consuming animal products from the store. So Um, back at it again. Yeah. Basically, Lawrence is a subjectivist, so he has his belief system is that like essentially we all have gripes of things. His gripe is bring people into the existence, and basically he's trying to convince people not to have kids because it upsets him that people suffer. Not because he believes there's anything objectively wrong with suffering, but because it upsets him personally that others suffer, and so therefore he wants to convince others not to bring people into existence because that makes him feel better. So, consequentially speaking, I'm like, that's great. I mean, I'd rather you be advocating for that than something that's natalist. But when it comes down to it, why do you care, Anton? That's kind of my biggie with you. Is just like, why be an antinatalist if you don't think there's anything objectively wrong with pain, like, or with consent or whatever? Like if you don't think there's something objectively wrong and it's just you trying to convince people of something, like what's your basis? But yeah, that's kind of my gripes with Anton. Let's just hop into it because he has a little part of his video here where he kind of says something that I think applies to himself.
So I guess like if someone is saying no one should be having children, then I guess they do fall under antinatalist. But for the reason of they don't like children, I mean,
I'm gonna go back
It's
a
going to
little
come
bit.
about, and we kind of quantify that and put it on a graph. It's like before they're born, that's all that matters. So it doesn't actually matter how much pleasure and pain they're going to experience relative to other people. It's like if they're going to experience any pain whatsoever, then it is just 100% not worth living. That's the antinatalist position.
And could we
I mean, I don't think it's all
the
antinatalists'
And Bo's in the chat.
position, but that's my position. It's more of a promortalist position than anything else, slash the negative utilitarian position. Basically, it's just acknowledging the asymmetry argument doesn't only apply to the unborn; it also applies to the living, especially if given identity nihilism, which is the concept that you're not the same person you were 10 years ago. You weren't the same person you are 5 years ago. You may not even be this, you probably aren't. I could say you aren't the same person that you were before this video started in this conversation. Your neural pathways are constantly in fluctuation, forming new paths. And just as the ship of Theseus example of changing one plank is a new ship, I say you're a new person each time your neural pathways start to form. So it's basically you're imposing new life every time you're having a new experience, basically. So when it comes down to it, I mean, there is no continued sense of identity, and there's constantly a new imposition upon a new being. So I think the asymmetry argument is pretty strong and kind of comes into play.
symmetry and still be an antinatalist?
Absolutely.
Because we could just think, well, life's terrible.
Yeah, so
for most people.
Yeah, that's what David Bennett's does. He says that like, here's the position. You know, there's an asymmetry of pleasure and pain, which means that even a life of mostly pleasure is not going to be worth living. However, you don't need it because life is mostly suffering anyway, and therefore it's still not worth bringing people into existence. Right. So yeah, you can
That I agree with.
reject the
Lawrence here doesn't necessarily agree with that, I don't think, or at least he's not explicitly in agreement with the life being majority suffering. I think he thinks that, like, for some people, it's definitely majority suffering, if not a majority, but it can, in some cases, be a majority pleasure for people. I think he said that at some point in this video. I 100% disagree. I think even if you're Jeff Bezos, Emma Watson, and later in the video he mentions disabled people having like intense happiness at times, even if you're like some person who's completely oblivious to the pain of the world, basically on like a large scale because you're mentally impaired. I still think life is objectively pain. Like you're on a net scale, like you're constantly, you have itches on your body, your skin cells are constantly dying and stuff. You just don't really notice it. If you really focus, though, if you just stop for a moment, you're gonna notice your body has little itches going on all over it. You know, your body's constantly in discomfort. You're basically constantly trying to fight to maintain homeostasis. You're either too hungry, or too full, you're too hot, you're too cold. Your body's constantly in fluctuation, trying to maintain homeostasis, and that's pretty much the nature of life, is maintaining this state, which by its very nature is not going to be maintained for long. So yeah, life is constantly just a fight for balance. And yeah, so long as that fight's happening, which is pretty much constant, you're going to be in a state of somewhat pain. So the pleasure is short lived, the pain is constant. So
reject the asymmetry, but also be an antinatalist. But there are so many reasons you can be an antinatalist. Like Bennett discusses, you can be an antinatalist because you don't like children. You know, because you hate
here we go. Now we're getting to the meat. This is why we wanted to have this conversation.
There are so many reasons you can be, and technically you are an antinatalist if you're saying you shouldn't have children.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess like
Yeah, you should say I guess so, because your position, Anton, is that I don't believe there is anything objectively wrong in the universe. This is an amoral landscape we find ourselves in. That's your position, Anton. Your position is I find it wrong to bring people into existence on a personal, subjective perspective. And that's my perspective. Your perspective could be otherwise. What I'm doing when I'm doing antinatalism activism as Lawrence is essentially trying to convince people to be consistent for no particular reason, just because, I mean, he's trying to convince them that because it makes him upset to be inconsistent, they should also feel upset to be inconsistent because it makes him upset to see them not upset to be inconsistent or something along those lines. And so basically, he's trying to convince people to be antinatalist for his own benefit because it's not for the benefit of the person. I mean, he'll claim it is, and I'm sure in a sense it is because it's in a non-hedonistic sense. He is taking pleasure from their. I guess it is a hedonistic. Yeah, in a hedonistic sense, he's taking pleasure from their well-being being preserved, or like not being brought into a negative state of disbeing. So like really what Anton's saying is there's not anything bad with bringing someone into existence. It's just that he feels bad and he doesn't want to feel bad. So keep this in mind when he does this critique here.
If someone is saying no one should be having children, then I guess they do fall under antinatalist. But for the reason of they don't like children, I mean, it's sort of like calling Buddhism a religion. Like, technically, someone could claim it falls under the category of religion, but it's just so different from the big, like the religions like Christianity, Islam, Judaism. It just has a completely different structure and all of this sort of stuff. And it's kind of the same with this. It's like calling someone like that an antinatalist. I mean, technically, they would fit under the umbrella, but it's so far removed from what most antinatalists are. Like the core of what anyone who's educated on the subject understands
Well, the
antinatalism.
core of antinatalism is essentially thinking it is wrong to bring children or sentient beings into existence. So, in theory, if a person thinks I think it's wrong for all of you to bring people into existence because it upsets me. I don't like it. It makes me angry. Grr. And you making me angry is bad. No bueno. If that's the case, they should be an antinatalist. And in fact, they are an antinatalist because they're taking the position that it's wrong for other people to inflict harm upon themselves specifically by imposing life on another being. Not because there's anything wrong with imposing the life on that being, but because it upsets them. Universally speaking, like every single time a person has a child and they know about it, they're like, this makes me upset. This is bad. So this should not occur. So therefore, they are saying this should not occur. Therefore, they are an antinatalist. What's the inconsistency, Lawrence? They're making an appeal to an emotion that they feel just like you do, because you're not saying there's anything objectively wrong with pain. You're not saying there's anything objectively wrong with having children. You're saying that it makes you feel bad, basically. You perceive it as bad, and based off of your ethics that you hold, which is that pain's bad, but not that you really think it's bad. It's just that you perceive it as that way, and so because you perceive it that way, you want to spread this thing to other people, I guess, like a mind virus. But because you have this belief fully based off emotions, not because it's actually the case, you think that it's wrong to have children. This person thinks that exact same thing. They just do it because instead of pain, they do it because it pains them. Instead of being like, oh, other people's pain upsets me, therefore I'm selfishly going to say don't have kids because I don't want to feel pain, which is your position. Their position is seeing a kid being born causes me pain, so therefore don't have kids. Either way, it's basically trying to prevent your own pain from occurring from a selfish reason. So I mean, I genuinely do not see the difference. I don't. Someone help me out here. Someone help me out. Come on, help me out, guys. I'm generally
Isn't
confused.
to me, but yeah. Anyway, memoid is or memoid is in the chat.
Because they're annoying. It's just a bad argument. And if somebody says you shouldn't have children because they're going to experience net suffering, I'm not saying that's a bad argument, but I'm saying, like, let's let's explore that. Like prove that might be the case. It might not. Who knows?
Well, he does offer evidence. He talks about the fact that we can experience chronic pain. There are people right now sitting in permanent pain. Yeah, it's just suffering so much, but nobody is sitting down with chronic pleasure. He also suggests that
Yep. So that's one of the empirical asymmetries.
we think.
And John Stephen is in the chat. And Tom is in the chat as well.
The most intense pains are worse
than the most intense pleasures. Yeah, I
so
remember that.
If we were to offer you now 5 minutes of the most intense pleasure in exchange for 5 minutes of the most intense pain, would you accept that?
Yeah, that's the thing, you probably would.
Brant is saying in the chat, well, now I have to make a response video because Lawrence just criticized the moral position as a subjectivist, and that gets me going. Well, Brant, if you make any sort of response video to anything I've said, then definitely send me the link and I'll check it out.
Yeah, well, that's my response video basically. But yeah, it's basically I'm just saying, like, if you think that there is no such thing as objective ethics, everything's subjective. It's based off of one subject perceives it this way, another subject perceives it that way, and it's just subjects trying to convince another subject to take upon their perspective to better themselves. If that's what you think, then how can you genuinely criticize a person's perspective of antinatalism for just saying, I don't think anybody should have kids because I don't like kids? To me, that's just as valid. Like, under your perspective, Anton, you basically are forced to admit that that is just as valid as perspective as your own, because your perspective is grounded upon emotions, and his opinion is grounded on emotions. Mine's grounded on the fact that every single thing that's alive that has felt an avoidance response dislikes it, aka pain is inherently objectively bad. It's a universal experience that all subjects experience as a negative. It's bad. It's worth avoiding. You ought to avoid pain. But, that's just my short little 17-minute response. I mean, hey, anybody have any critiques? Anybody have anything they want to say? Do you agree with Anton? Why? So you're a subjectivist? In general? Then why be an antinatalist? I mean, if you're a subjectivist, then why be an antinatalist? Like, why believe anything? Why take a moral position of you should or shouldn't do this X, Y, Z if you believe it's just your opinion? Because it seems disingenuous. It seems like you're basically just trying to trick and connive people into doing things that benefit yourself. It doesn't actually seem like you're taking an ethical position. It just seems like you're telling people you're taking an ethical position, but really you're just trying to benefit your emotions. It's not what I mean by subjective. If you were listening to the conversation, you wouldn't have got that. By subjective, I don't mean just a subject perceiving something. By subjective, I mean one subject has a different opinion from another subject, and so therefore both subjects are just as valid because the subject's the one that generates it or whatever. That's what most people mean by subjective. What I mean by a subjective is basically the exact opposite. I mean, it's just, I mean, that's what subjective means to me as well, but for some reason, like people don't have problems with that. For me, objective means the exact opposite. It's like a subject's experience is universal. So like a universal experience of all subjects is objectivity. Like something that's, do I know what the most common disease on earth is? Probably like fucking cancer. I don't fucking know. Diabetes. I don't fucking know. But moral stories, objectivity is just when there's a subjective experience that is universal. It's experienced by all subjects that way. Cannot be experienced otherwise. Definitionally is that way. So that is what pain is to me. Pain is something that's objectively bad. It's not just subjectively. Yeah, it takes a subject for it to occur, but that doesn't mean it's subjective. It takes a subject for objectivity to occur also. Do, 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 do. So this dude's saying cavities didn't exist before the Industrial Revolution, and now we have, where's the proof of this? And now we're basically saying that apparently we never got cavities because we mainly ate meat. Apparently, like apparently that's somehow relevant, I guess. Okay, hypothetically, let's just say I disagree with this. Because one, I mean, I just don't think there's much facts to, really prove that there's, skeletal records, blah, 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 all that bullshit. But when it comes down to, let's just say in the past, meat did prevent us from having cavities. And nowadays, every time we eat a plant, it just cavities our whole mouths out. Cavity, 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 every single time. How is that relevant to ethics? How is that relevant to what we should or shouldn't do? I mean, given modern technology, we can replace every single tooth in our entire mouth with dentures if we really wanted to. You can eat things just as fine. It's Gucci. So why are you? So you're gonna tell me now that your cavities are more important than the suffering of another being? That you're gonna bring things into existence to be suffering, die in horrible conditions just because you want to prevent what? Like having fake teeth, brushing your teeth. I brush my teeth and I don't have cavities. So, you know, I'm pretty sure if you just brush your teeth, you'll be fine. Gucci, you'd be swell. So, when it comes down to it, moral of the story is if you want meat so bad, go hunt for it. Don't go into the supermarket, bring things into existence via supply and demand just for some arbitrary excuse that you want to prevent cavities when you can brush your teeth. So, Well, all I'm gonna say is to you, brother Sid, probably change up your diet. It's one, probably not healthy for you. You probably will get diabetes or a heart condition someday. And as little as I care about your health, I don't want you draining on my tax dollars. So please don't. Please improve your lifestyle so I don't have to pay for your heart condition someday. And two, think about the suffering of the animals you're consequentially bringing into existence. Your $5 is equal to my $5, just as their pain is equal to our pain. No, just as you don't want to have a knife getting stabbed into you and your throat slit slowly and locked in a cage. Probably not very Gucci to do the same to another being whose sentient experience, which is value driven, they generate value from their experience is equal to your own. So yeah, probably not very Gucci, bro. Probably not very Gucci. But to each their own. I mean, I don't know where you are. If I knew where you are, I mean, if I knew where you were and we were like in a field together in like the middle of the night, and I had a machete and you didn't have a machete, I mean, I could do something about this, but we're not. We're on the internet. So when it comes down to it, please just make the right choice. I'm a psychopath, by the way, if you haven't figured that out yet. Love you, lol. Thank you. I appreciate it. Time to go smoke. First, I'm gonna check my OnlyFans. Shout out, guys. I have an OnlyFans. I'm not gonna tell you the name of my OnlyFans. I'm just gonna tell you that I have an OnlyFans. So if this body looks fine, if you like these tattoos, these sick tats, look at them. They go. My tattoos go all the way past my shoulder and onto my back. If you like these sick tattoos, just know that my body is naked on the internet somewhere. But you'll never know. You'll never see it. You'll never know what my ID is. Ha ha ha. Ah ha 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 ha. Ah ha 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 ha. Now I'm gonna go live stream outside and smoke. Look at that. It's me in two places at once.
Fuck. It's fucking bright out. My eyeball. Eskimos aren't carnivore. I thought Eskimos are carnivore. Didn't they like club seals to death or something? I thought Eskimos like had like a little bit of a fetish for baby seal clubbing. No offense to the Eskimos, but they should probably move out of their environment if their lifestyle requires clubbing babies to death. But to each their own. I mean, if I could club babies to death, I would do it for the fun of it. So hey, I'm not judging them if they want to club baby seals to death for survival. Who am I to say otherwise? I'm just joking. No, but really, the Eskimos need to fucking chill. Like, their lifestyle literally requires, like, living in a fucking igloo and clubbing things to death. Like, they need to, like, take a step back and look at themselves in the mirror and be like, damn, I think this is a little fucked. What's life? I wake up every morning, cold, miserable, my cum frozen in my balls, and then I club baby seals to death. maybe life is pain. I mean, it seems obvious to me, but to them apparently not. So are they eating hamburgers there? No, I think Eskimos solely survive off of the suffering of baby seals. I'm pretty sure. Like I'm 90% sure they just like siphon the pain out of their dying bodies, but to live. I'm just joking. But I'm sure Eskimos have like actual villages and societies and shit like that, and don't actually live in igloos anymore. But yo, bro, you could just like eat vegan beef, bro. I mean, there's like plant-based alternatives that taste pretty damn good. So, like when it comes down to it, last night I had like these spicy noodles with like fried noodles with like chili sauce and stuff like that in there. It was really good. And then I basically just took some like vegan beef skillet shit and just like put it in a pan and fried it up. And then I just kind of mixed it in the noodles and stirred it all up and had it tasted kind of just like a wedding cake, not wedding cake, wedding soup. Kind of tastes like wedding soup, but like a spicy version of wedding soup. So it was really tasty. And that's what I had for dinner last night. I mean, I made that like 5 a.m. You might say like, why isn't that breakfast, Brant? Like, and I'm like, no, I went to bed at like 10 p.m., 10 a.m. So when I went to bed at 10 a.m., in a way, 5 a.m. is like my dinner. So yes, I have a very unhealthy lifestyle. But I made $187 yesterday while Ubering in only 5 hours. So unhealthy lifestyle, yes. Very productive in my time, also yes. So there you go. It's a win-win. What am I doing here? You're obviously a bad philosopher, says Frigus. Says you. You're not even a philosopher. So how you have to explain to me I'm a bad philosopher. You can't just make a statement on, oh, you're a bad philosopher. Yeah, and my cock's down your mom's throat right now. You just can't see because it's down here. Oh yeah. She's walking on it hard, baby girl. So yeah, that's my perspective. Explain to me how I'm wrong. Oh, I meant Sid. My bad. Apologies. I just got into a little roast session with someone who was not even talking to me. But I thought you were talking to me, asking why I was here, and so I was just like, explain to me why you're here first, bud. Then I'll justify. Now I feel like an asshole. I am an asshole, but to each their own. That was kind of funny though. Yeah, it's just being an asshole to the right people. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'll hold my reins. But yeah, if anybody is watching at this point, I already did the response video to Anton earlier in the video. At this point, we're just kind of chilling, hanging out. My point basically is that if you're a subjectivist, I don't know why people talk about ethics and make ethical claims. Like, I don't know what the nature of the conversation is. Like, what's the baseline of like you're basically just trying to convince people for your own benefit. It sounds like, and I don't see that as convincing. I don't see that as worthwhile. And I do view ethics as inherently objective to the nature of suffering is bad. Like, just I experience it as bad. It's impossible to deny that. Like, if I'm in pain, it sucks. If I'm having an orgasm or something, feels good, man. .jpg. And when it comes down to it, experience is what generates those values, and those values are inherent to experience. Like, it's just, to me, it's obvious that pain is a bad thing. It doesn't. There is no is ought gap. My perspective. I don't feel an is ought gap. Okay, guys. Like, I don't see an is ought gap. I don't feel an is ought gap. I perceive pain as being bad, and to me, the ought of not causing pain is inherent to the fact that it is bad. Like, I ought not do what is perceived as bad. Like, I ought not do what I perceive I ought not do. Like, I don't fucking know how to say it otherwise, but when I perceive something as bad and I acknowledge that other things are equal in value as myself, there's no other way to perceive it, then yeah, it just seems to me like, bing bang boom. Have you heard of Darman? It sounds familiar, but I don't know who that is. Basically, the golden rule is basically what I follow, only I view the golden rule as breaking down a little bit further into pain. So basically, it's just like, I ought not cause pain because I perceive pain as bad. So, like, I mean, even less so, like, even if I didn't perceive pain as bad, it's like obvious that it is bad. Like, I don't. Yeah, it sounds something Indian, but I don't fucking know what it is. But the Harman, I don't fucking know. Izok gap is for nihilists, basically. It seems that way to me. I mean, I don't know, like, Lawrence seems to have an appeal to the Izok gap because he views it all as subjective. He doesn't view it as, he claims that this is like an amoral universe and that, like, subjects are the only thing talking about, like, ethics, I guess. Like, so, I mean, in his perspective, I guess there has to be an Izok gap. Otherwise, I don't know how he doesn't believe in objective ethics. Because the strongest argument against subjective ethics is the Izok gap, which is like, and that's just like strong because it's gonna be able to claim it. It's like a might makes right strong. To me, it's just obvious that it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just like, no, I feel pain. Pain's bad. uh, you know, see, ethics is subjective. Okay, fair enough. I mean, I personally am under the perspective that God killed itself. If God is a perfect being, a perfectly all loving, all encompassing being who experiences all things, who's perfectly tranquil and happy with its tranquilness, then it would be forced into a situation where it can do nothing besides exist or to cease existence, in my perspective. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just kind of like if you believe in God, and it's hard to tell you, but your God's a corpse. The universe is God. It's just a decaying corpse, my friends. Uh, Philippe Mainlander, yay. Console looks pretty healthy. How do you prove it? Because I got, uh, because I got muscles, tattoos. I got a sexy face. Yeah. Uh, fat cock. No, I'm kidding. That's why I'm healthy. Okay. Dude, I take my B12 pills like once a week. Sometimes I don't even take them. And I'm pretty much better arguing than like 99.9% of people I know. So when it comes down to it, B12 deficiency or not, still smarter than half you fuckers. So, ayo. No offense. Just assume you're the half that's as smart or smarter than me. And then, don't take offense. Yeah, exactly. You can just take a B12 supplement, bro. I don't actually have World at War, it turns out, my dude. So fat rip. Oh, these advertisements. Yeah, man. Money. Arr, arr, arr. Well, I don't even care about the health benefits of veganism. I basically eat Oreos, beans, oatmeal, cereal. Sometimes if almond milk or oat milk. Sometimes just straight, just like reach into a bowl of dried cereal and just, you know. So it's like I don't give a fuck about health. I don't give a fuck about quality of life. All I give a fuck about is ethics and what we should do. So when it comes down to it, I do this for prevention of suffering for the animals, so to speak, not because my body is more healthy because of veganism or whatever. So thank you, I appreciate it. According to my doctor, I should be fine. So being a vegan, my body weight's been pretty consistent. When I first went vegan, my body weight didn't change at all. Then when I had like a major episode of depression when my friend committed suicide, my body weight kind of dropped like 10 pounds. But now I'm back up to weighing what I used to. So like 128, 130, something like that. So I'm like 5'7", so in height. So I'm sure most of you are European, so you probably are like what? But I don't know how to translate that into centimeters or whatever. So get fucked, I guess. Onions are good for that cough, I heard. I believe it. I'm used to coughing though. Sid says that they wish they Sid says they wish they lost weight with depression. You know, it depends on what you do, I guess. If you snack and eat a lot when you're depressed, then you'll gain weight. If you're like me and just kind of sleep and try to avoid consciousness, then you'll lose weight. Or your mom's lucky. Ah, my soul. Eat some onions, man. I don't have no onions. Yeah, I'm gonna take my B12 supplement. My men's multivitamin. Looks like you're smoking from a sweet potato. Yo, bro. May as well be. That fucking, whatever they're called, is shitty as fuck. I had it for like 2 years. Nectar collector. That's just her ass. Marco, my boy. Cat. Do you like Payday, or is that your brother? That's my brother, I think. So. I don't know. Marco. My cat's name is Marco. Is your friend vegan too? Not yet. Eventually.
Testing 1 2. Cough. Yeah, I'm planning to transition him to the Evolution or whatever that one brand's called. So he will be vegan eventually, but right now he's technically not, and he's an outdoor cat. So he eats mice and birds and rabbits and stuff. So he's never going to technically be a fully vegan cat, but I consider it better than vegan because the way I look at it is I'd rather him be killing the things outside before they reproduce to spread their genes and death to future generations. So a lot of, if you look at the statistics, household cats actually cause massive amounts of extinction throughout history. So the way I look at it is Marco here's a little Ethelist and he's doing the world a favor, aren't you? Causing extinction one bird at a time. Yes, you are. Marco's a good boy. Can get the cat cam. I prefer The Last Messiah. The Last Messiah is an amazing little piece of literature. Yeah, how's it going, Marco? I'm an asshole, by the way. If you can't tell, I just my cat. Whenever he yawns, I'm like, get fucked. Just stick my finger in his mouth. I know a guy who believes Joshua sub you from getting in a fight, dude. It's amazing, truly beautiful. Followers of Joshua should practice pacifism as he did. Understandable. Probably should. If they want to be consistent, though. Pacifism isn't inherently a good thing. Devilish? I'm a bit devilish. Ooh. Gosh dang, I need some onions. Just kidding. I was an atheist for most of my life, so try to have empathy on those who still lost like I was. Well, I have empathy, but I also am an anti-theist, so my empathy only goes so far. I mean, once you kind of point out that, like, hey, there's no facts to show there's ever been a resurrection, there's ever been a God to create the universe, especially a loving one or a good one. It's just like, yeah, it's kind of just like stop imposing your beliefs on people, fuckers. You have no evidence for it. So I get a little bit annoyed people pretty fast. And then when it's like deeper conversations, I can pretty much show that, like, if a god ever existed, it killed itself and all that. So it's just kind of like, yeah, it's just belief in God's too silly for me. Well, a living God that's good. Adorable cat. Anyways, I'm getting a little tired. I might take a little bit of a nap before I go to the movies later. I got a date tonight, so I kind of want to take a nap before that. Anyways, I will end the stream. Y'all take care. Have a good one. Be vegan if you can. Hunt and fish if you want. You know. don't have kids. Yeah. Adios.